Here is just what that picture looks like on my graph in my notebook. So we are going to add another vocabulary word, and that is symmetry. Symmetry is a line at which the graph could be reflected and the graph would still lie upon itself. So make sure that definition is in red or it's highlighted. Then you're going to want to copy down that graph with those three separate functions. I suggest you use three separate colors because I will refer to them as the color. You could also just label them red, green, and blue. So looking at these three functions, we're going to see if they have some symmetry. So we want to see if there's a line that we can draw that would cut the function in half, and that line either be horizontal or vertical. So taking a look at the red graph, which is a quadratic function, we could draw a line down the middle here. That would cut the graph in half, and the left and the right would match. You should have learned in integrated 2 that the imaginary line that cuts a parabola in half is called the axis of symmetry. In this case, the axis of symmetry just happens to be the y-axis. That is not always the case. Taking a look at the blue graph, that's a cubic. So this blue graph here is a cubic. We want to see if this has some symmetry. So if I drew a vertical line here, there is no way that if we folded it in half, the left would match the right. So cubic functions do not have a line of symmetry. Take this last green graph and see if you can draw a line of symmetry on this green graph. This green graph is also a quadratic, so the line of symmetry would be somewhere about here. All quadratic functions have a line of symmetry known as the axis of symmetry. So we are halfway through our goal for this lesson, and the last thing we have to talk about is end behavior. So end behavior describes how a graph continues as x becomes smaller and as x gets bigger. Again, another definition, write it in red or highlight it. And we are going to fill in this chart to talk about the different kinds of end behavior. If you're an in-class student, I will give you a handout. If you're a distance learner, print out the handout. You're going to tape it onto your notebook paper. If you don't have a printer, then you're just going to want to copy this chart as neatly as possible onto your notebook paper.